Sean,
Ma,
how are you?
I am fabulous, my friend. How about you?
Oh, good. I want to commend you. This has been such a great, I don't know. So you've been doing it how many days? Was this like your
This is
11th,
number six.
sixth day?
Six days at 31 days.
I love
And,
it.
it's one of those things where you wake up some morning at 6 a.m., which I didn't wake up at 6 a.m. before for quite some time, and ask myself, what was I thinking? Was this really what I wanted to do? And then I say, yes, it is. And so here we are, because I get Marvin's and Amelia's and Seema's. And so what are you thinking now? I mean, you work with a lot of businesses like Marvin.
I do.
And positioning strategy, marketing promotion.
Yeah.
This is in the DMV, DC, Virginia, Maryland area. Everyone who's out there now, what are you doing, and what actions are you taking to help your clients think different and get unstuck?
So very similar to Marvin's conversation. It would be fun to have a three-way. I've been focused on pivot strategies. Okay. So I've been doing a lot of presentations, sharing the fact that your customer of just 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago is completely different today. So like pain points of your customer, you have to really, really assess who they are, what their need is now. And initially, obviously, most people have been communicating with their actual customers. But one of the biggest challenges is like this balance of trying to serve people and help and support people and sell, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I mean, if you've seen that, obviously with COVID-19 and the pandemic, this is not going to be a short-term thing, as you discussed, right? So when is it the appropriate time to start getting back into actually building some cash flow? Because as you know, small businesses are dying. Industries are dying overnight. I've been spending
it's a global situation.
A global situation. I've been spending a ton of time looking at consumer spending habits, consumer sentiment in terms of what they feel like with safety and large venues and short term and long term. Some of the trends that are coming out by industry. So
what are you seeing? What are you seeing?
So, okay. So consumer spending, So the big thing, the big trend is people are focused on not essentials, right? So one of the things I've been coaching.
Things that they need.
Yeah. So
not they want.
Exactly.
Right.
So I've been coaching a lot of businesses when you're looking to tweak your business model in our current situation. How do we create products or offerings that are now converted from non-essential to essential, right? So I'll give you a couple examples. Walter's Restaurant, they're based in Navy Yard. They're an establishment for the local folks there. It's just a newer beer establishment otherwise. He was really, he owns like 4 restaurants in the city, and he was really concerned about the overall supply chain of food and distribution, and obviously his people working there and the local community. So he ended up changing, he's doing takeout and whatever they can do with just bringing in that income, but he created a CSA type model where he's leveraging the distribution for the fruits and vegetables, packaging and bundling, using a couple of his restaurants for drop-offs and delivery, so he can hire back some of the folks that will not, qualify for unemployment or other things in that space. I've seen companies.
I got a question. I got a question for you there. So that's kind of a temporary fix, right?
Yep.
Just temp.
Mm-hmm.
2 months, 20 and 24 months. It's kind of how I look at life. We're in 2 months of 24 months. So there's 22 months to go before we're truly on the other side. Maybe longer, right? Possibly.
And some industries are going to change forever, including.
Yeah, well, some are going to go away, and we know that. And I sold out of all of my airline stock before Warren Buffett did, so I felt good about that. What are you doing, and what is it you would advise somebody? Because there's lots of restaurants around the world. All the restaurants around the world are challenged. They're going to be going out of business. I think about some of my favorite restaurants. One of them is in Nairobi, Talisman. A couple in Pakistan, and I worry about those restaurants, right? For one, but how are you helping them think different about long term? The future, what Marvin was talking about, around the corner. What does a restaurant look like around the corner? Because I went to I've picked up a couple of pizzas myself and gone in and thought, there's no way in hell I'm coming back here because this is really uncomfortable. The way it's all set up, these giant plastic screens, or it's very uncomfortable.
So
what are you advising, and how are you helping them think about the future? That's what I'm wanting to know.
So I think that's a really good question. And one of the things that I focus on before going into here's this whatever framework of pivoting is really looking at market trends, right? You and Marvin started talking about that. So I was like, Google is your best friend right now. Look at the headlines of what's happening with restaurants,
Google.
Right? Google, LinkedIn, looking at thought leaders in the space, looking at just like consumer sentiment. So restaurants in general, what the current insights have been is a lot more people are going to have smaller inside, like a space, commercial space, more outdoor space, definitely takeout windows. Right now they're allowing, alcohol to be sold, which is really a lot of the money makers for restaurants is that percentage. And I think the takeout delivery ecosystem, a lot of people have to make it much more robust and somehow, create better customer experiences through that. I know in general, commercial real estate is going to take a big hit, right? A lot of people are realizing that you don't need this much space for working from home, for example, right? Or people are working from home now, for example.
Huge
headquarters are going to shrink. Retail is going to shrink forever. It's like, even I was just listening to Inc. There's a podcast on Inc. Magazine, and Mark Cuban was on it. And he was just sharing what some of the issues of like when you walk into a store, a retail store, and someone tries on clothing, you're really going to have to sanitize that. So this retail markets are going to have to think about, do they not?
It's not going to be comfortable. It's not going to be comfortable.
You need to go, maybe they try on things at home. You can only have a few people in your store at one time. But the problem is you have to also reconcile the business model, because now you're taking away all this traffic from people. How are they going to pay their bills, right? So you have to think differently of how you're going to get more sales or focus on different distribution channels than you ever have in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I love this. For me, I get energized every day now in a way that even before we launched 31 Days to Pat 2, I just was excited because there's something going on right now that represents tremendous opportunity. Now, it looks like my mother had COVID. She was in isolation in the hospital, almost died.
I'm sorry.
And she's still with us, and she'll be a special guest on Sunday, Insights with Sean's mom. Coming Sunday, I just made the announcement there. And she's going to coach me because she is. And so I think that what I'm saying is I know people are being impacted by this. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't want anybody to die on, prematurely or earlier because of some irresponsible behaviors. But outside of that piece of it, there is more opportunity now than ever before. Right. In terms of changing the way things are. So that could be our economy. Who needs all that stuff anyway? Yeah. Right? I wonder. I went to zero at one point. And sold everything, went to zero, and slowly I've got more stuff again now. And so do you see, this will be the last question because we got to move, we got a special guest next and I can't wait. Do you think are you sensing a new kind of way to create an economy or economics and change? Warren Buffett kind of alluded to something while he was doing his conference the other Saturday, and do you have any ideas of how to reinvent how our economy is driven in a way that isn't so much about consumerism, which takes away from the planet and impacts? And I think it's 32 years now, the cleanest skies in DC. And around the world, you see that you see blue skies, you see mountains. It's because we're not consuming as much. Thoughts? You got a minute.
a big, to your point, right? We have never had a time where the world was on pause. Okay. And now we're seeing all these implications. There's so many memes, and I actually say study the memes because they're true. They're comedic, but they're true, right? Where, oh, in the past, everyone, not that my kids aren't doing that too, but I've never been outside so much hiking in my life, right? That there is like connectivity between like, you know, even though we're doing it virtual, people are connecting with their older friends and needing that connection in a different way. You know, depression and anxiety is also on a high. There's like a mixed balance. So I think, you know, looking at the fact that we are at a pause, anytime somebody comes out of a recession or say 9/11 was something that affected me personally, differently. People think differently. I said, you know,
only for a short period. On 9/11, it was very short.
It was short. I was in New York. Maybe it was a little different. It took some time, but like, you know, digital transformation is something corporations and entrepreneurs have been talking about for a long time. COVID-19 now is leading the charge on that. The industrial, it's going from industrial to digital overnight. We probably are pushed our whole cycle 10 years ahead, right?
Yep.
So there is, well, I keep saying, like, I get that, you know, a chair has been pulled under from all of us, but what is the opportunity? Think about what's the possibility now versus what it was before. The fact that you're on digital, Sean, and you can now spread your message, all that knowledge and wisdom that you have from all the countries and all the entrepreneurs you've worked at, how amazing is that?
Totally. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And they're being asked, why didn't I do this before? And I tell them because I was uncomfortable doing this.
Right. No, it's huge.
Do it afraid is what we've been saying all along. And Seema, I just thank you for being here and thanks for your thoughts, because I think that we're living in a miraculous time as human beings, and we're fortunate if we can look past and find ways to get unstuck, because the opportunities are great right now, and we just have to think different and behave differently.
I love it.
Seema, thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye.